Nothing stings more than when a game with potential dies a very slow, painful death. Welcome to the page, everybody. Today, we're going to be looking at 10 multiplayer games that were unfortunately shut down and terminated by their own developers. Let me know which of these you got a chance to play, which ones you never did, and let's start things off with LAWBREAKERS. Everybody knows about this game, I think. After Cliffy B split from Epic Games after making Unreal Tournament and Gears of War, people were expecting this great new multiplayer shooter experience. Well, LAWBREAKERS showed promise early on, and reviews of the gameplay were actually positive. But there was a series of horrible business moves completely destroying the game's chances of ever succeeding. Throughout the marketing campaign, it was labeled as free to play. But after it launched, surprise, it was now $30. LAWBREAKERS also came out rather close to Overwatch, which was the biggest shooter in the world at the time, and for some reason, Cliffy B kept trying to compare the two games in interviews. Maybe he was trying to ride the Overwatch coattails, but there was a problem. LAWBREAKERS isn't even like Overwatch. This made people confused as to what the game was supposed to be, and what little interest there was got swept away by other multiplayer shooter releases at that time. LAWBREAKERS launched to horrible player counts, and the community, well, it dried up embarrassingly quick. The game dropped in August of 2017, and the servers were shut down just 13 months later. Guys, before you move on, if you get anything from G2A, whether it be new Steam gift cards, whether it be PC games, anything, use code CHAOS. Link is at the top of the description. Get yourself some cash back. Next up, Unreal Tournament 2014. Speaking of Cliffy B, how about a game that was sacrificed at the altar for Fortnite? It was. Unreal Tournament is one of the most influential FPS franchises in gaming history, and it's what helped Epic Games get on the map. In 2014, Epic announced a reboot of the franchise for PC, and it would be crowdsourced and developed with an insane level of community feedback to make it perfect. Early gameplay was promising, work was slow, but it looked like it was going well. Unfortunately, nobody at Epic Games expected Fortnite to explode the way it did, and in July of 2017, just a few months before the launch of Fortnite Battle Royale, the update stopped. In December of the next year, Epic announced they were officially killing development of Unreal Tournament, and the final version of the game is playable. It was never completed, which is a shame. A modern Unreal Tournament reboot would have been amazing. Fortnite, well, it had other plans. PlanetSide Arena. I remember hyping this game up before it came out, and then it disappeared. It did. It was known for its insane lobby sizes. It featured battles with over 1,000 players at the same time, but PlanetSide Arena was going to be a change of pace. Small-scale combat, modes like Capture the Flag, as well as Battle Royale. It was an interesting gameplay on display, and another arena shooter on the market is never a bad thing, but PlanetSide Arena, it couldn't get off the ground. It launched in September 9 of 2019, but servers were shut down the next year, just 4 months later, and all in-game purchases were refunded. Now, due to insanely low player count, sometimes as low as 20 people for a brand new PlanetSide game, and intense competition from other free-to-play shooters, it was kind of erased from existence. Speaking of erased from existence, Dirty Bomb. Now, it's had a lot of hype surrounding it due to the legacy of the developers. The game launched in open beta in June of 2015. It was being developed by Splash Damage, the same team that made Wolfenstein and Enemy Territory in the multiplayer for Return to Castle Wolfenstein, even a multiplayer for Doom 3. Splash Damage was a big name in PC shooters, and while Dirty Bomb did have success at first with lots of players and positive reception, a troubled development greedy publisher would ultimately kill it. Splash Damage couldn't seem to decide if they wanted to be a class-based shooter or a hero shooter, and the change in design philosophy drove a lot of the original players out the door. Then in 2017, a new publisher took over, and the game got a lot more predatory with some arguably pay-to-win mechanics introduced. In October of the next year, Splash Damage announced they were pulling the plug on Dirty Bomb's development due to the lack of money coming in, so while the game still does exist and a handful of people play it, it was never completed by the devs, and it hasn't been updated in over 3 years. Who remembers Hyperscape? Do you? Ubisoft's attempt to jump into the Battle Royale craze, I think it was too late. The gameplay was closer to an arena shooter, and the movement was pretty good. It was fast, but in no way a bad game. It had some pretty cool features like integrated Twitch support so your viewers could have an impact on your match, but the game launched in July of 2020, when the entire world was already at home playing Warzone, Apex, and Valorant. Hyperscape truly launched at the worst possible time, and the gameplay just was not unique or amazing enough to make up for the insane competition that it was up against. Ubisoft officially announced the game's death earlier this year, and the servers are scheduled to shut off on April 27th, so go get your final few games of Hyperscape in while you still can. At number 5, Ring of Elysium. Now, I know some people who really, really like this game. And for the 5 minutes it was relevant, I get it. I mean, it was a Battle Royale game, had some unique characteristics compared to the competition when it launched in late 2018. There were aspects of action sports thrown in, snowboards, hang gliders, and the original map took place on a snowy mountainside in the middle of a big mountain town, and it gave the game a lot of identity. Unfortunately, the devs pretty quickly decided to ditch the setting and make a new map on a tropical island, which just made the game feel closer to like PUBG, and that's not what people wanted. As the player counts dropped, the devs kept adding more and more microtransactions without fixing the core issues and with the game and without returning to the original setting. Nope. Still has a community today, but it's small. And it's probably never going to break 1,000+ average players again. At number 4, Quake Champions. Now, Quake has had a massive fall from grace, and it's been sad to watch. The original game helped define single-player FPS games as you and me know them, and then Quake 3 Arena, well, it helped popularize multiplayer FPS games across the board. Quake Champions was meant to be this big revival and modernization of the gameplay for a new generation, but it was just too different from the originals for the core community. The gameplay wasn't interesting enough to grab new players. It launched in early access in 2017. It took the established Quake gameplay with some elements of modern hero shooters. It was interesting, but it wasn't engaging. The game transitioned to a free-to-play model about a year after launch, and there are some people playing it now, but it's clearly not a priority for Bethesda anymore, although there are some new rumors floating around about a big Quake reboot development, so hopefully, maybe, this legendary franchise can get the big Doom-style revival that it deserves. At number 3, Paragon. Before Fortnite came out and became the main focus of Epic Games, there was another one. There were some experimental projects in the works. We already talked about the Unreal Tournament reboot that got canned, but perhaps the more disappointing was the cancellation of Paragon, a new MOBA that included elements of third-person shooters like Epic's own Gears of War series. The game entered early access in 2016. In reception, it was good. It was unique. The visuals were appealing. I mean, reception got a little more up and down as changes were made during development, but overall, Paragon had a lot of potential to be a major player in the MOBA scene. Unfortunately, due to the success of Fortnite once again, the Paragon team was moved over to the BR team and it was canceled. I mean, thankfully, Epic released all the assets, and there is currently a spiritual successor in development called Predecessor, so if you missed Paragon or you never got a chance, keep an eye out for that. At number 2, Evolve. One of the most infamous examples of a game killed by its developers. First new game to come out for Turtle Rock Studios since the original Left 4 Dead. I mean, that's right. These guys made Left 4 Dead, so you could imagine how high expectations were. Evolve was an asymmetrical multiplayer FPS where one player would take control of a big monster while the rest of the lobby tried to hunt it down and kill it. Concept was decent, but the pricing was absurd. A $60 multiplayer-only game. Gamers weren't happy about that. They certainly weren't happy with the hundreds of dollars worth of DLC available that was not included with the Season Pass, and there was a bunch of core content like additional playable monsters locked behind that Season Pass, which to me, that's BS because the base game was already lacking in content. It got a lot of press attention leading up to release, but once the game dropped, people forgot about it. Turtle Rock officially killed the game in a few years after release, but on a positive note, Evolve did help popularize the asymmetrical multiplayer game genre, so I guess there's at least that. And at number 1 today, multiplayer games killed by their developers, the prize goes to H1Z1. This one hurts. I know so many people who love this game and are still upset about how it ended. H1Z1 is widely seen as the first standalone Battle Royale game ever made, released in beta in 2015, and it was certainly one of the most popular during the early days of the BR craze. It was an arcade Battle Royale, shooting, movement, looting. It made it addicting to play, and it also made it a good competitor to PUBG once the game came out and the two were competing. Unfortunately, that competition is largely what killed it. With PUBG and Fortnite starting to compete in the Battle Royale genre, H1Z1 kept making these big changes to the gameplay that nobody in the community was asking for, but it made the game either more marketable or more appealing to members of other communities. I don't know. The H1 player base shriveled up, got swept away, and by the time the developers snapped out of it and returned the game to a good state, the community was gone. The game that used to have over 100,000 concurrent players is now lucky to get more than a couple hundred online at a time. I mean, it was extremely influential as a game, but the death was kind of heartbreaking to watch. There you have it, my friends. Those are multiplayer games that their own makers were their demise. I'll see you soon.